Okay, so it's 6:01, so we will be starting in a bit.
Natasha.
Yes.
Can you start, please?
Oh, yeah, I was just waiting for people to file onto the call. So we're going to start in about like 9 minutes, just waiting for everyone to kind of find their way onto the call. Couple more minutes. Thank y'all for bearing with me. So we're going to be starting in a couple minutes, guys. Just waiting for everyone to get on. Thanks, Steven. Hi, Shondale.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you?
There's no trim, so there can't be any video right now.
You know what? That is A-okay. That is A-okay. Just a couple more minutes, guys. So y'all, if you need some snacks, go grab them. We're here for 2 hours. Okay, guys, so at 6:05, we're just gonna start. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and start. It's 6:05. Hi, everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming and tapping in today. I really, really appreciate it. We know that there is a number of things that you could be using your Saturday evening for, so it means a lot that you've come here to be a willing participant. Again, very, very appreciated. Essentially, Leash African Support Group, Sickle Cell Society Ireland, and Girls Arise wanted to create a platform, and they came together and we wanted to create a platform in which we can openly and honestly discuss the challenges and the issues we are facing currently as a community and have and are still facing daily. A common narrative that we hear from our Black counterparts is that, oh, they're unaware or they don't know of. So I'm actually getting messages that people are being waiting to get in. So I actually might wait a little bit just so everyone can file in, and then I'll go ahead and start if that's all right with y'all. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to. Yeah, we're just trying to get some people on. Give me just a moment.
It's on mute. It's no things off mute.
Okay. We're still having difficulties. Sorry about that, everybody. No one's able to log in right now. Technical difficulties. Alrighty.
Can you just speak up that they should let people in? That some people.
The thing is, it's hearing you.
Oh, not again.
Yes.
It's not letting people in right now. Sorry, everybody. Just try and bear with us. One second.
Hello. All right.
Okay.
Can you see the notifications we've done on the training? Isn't that not?
I think it's working now. Okay, I think it's working now. Okay, if everybody coming on, if y'all could just mute, please, and thank you. I think it's letting people in now, so everybody should get on.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Alrighty, so I'm just gonna allow a couple more minutes just so everybody can kind of file in, and then we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll probably start in like 5-ish minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, God,
Oh, look at my sister.
If everybody on, if y'all can just mute, please.
I don't think I can do it. What type of demon spawn child is this?
If everybody can just mute, please.
Still find out that there's nothing wrong with that.
If we can have everybody just mute their own videos, please. We're still working on letting people in. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys, just a couple more minutes. Just bear with us.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay. I'm making
We are
videos
working on
now,
it, guys.
okay?
I promise.
Can you try and see if you can let people in?
Hey guys, they're saying every time they try and log in on their phones, it's saying they need a password.
The password is on the flyer. So it's like here. Let me call it out to you. Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay, wait 1 second.
Okay.
Video this. Okay, go.
Okay, so it is 7, capital P, capital U, K, capital D, H.
Okay, that's the password for anyone who is not able to log in.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so we're having people, what's it called? File in a little bit. I just want, hello, hello.
Hello.
Alrighty, everybody. And if everyone can just mute their mics and videos, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. We're just waiting for people to file on the call, and then we will go ahead and start in like 2 minutes. Thank you so much for bearing with us, guys.
All good.
Alrighty, is everybody getting in? Hey, Amanda.
Hey.
Okay, perfect. We're just letting people file onto the call. Just a moment, guys. Alrighty. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start. Thank you guys so much for bearing with us. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. But like I said, thank you everybody who tuned in, who's been trying to get in. It's a Saturday evening, the sun is shining, so I know there's other stuff that y'all could have been doing. So we appreciate that y'all came in just to be a participant and really just kind of be here and contribute. Leash, essentially Leash African Support Group and Sickle Cell Society Ireland and Girls Arise, we all came together to create a platform where we can openly and honestly discuss issues and challenges where we as a community have and are still facing daily. So a common narrative that we hear from our non-Black counterparts is that they're unaware or don't know any form of discrimination or active racism that's occurring in Ireland. Needless to say, that couldn't be further from the truth. So our aim right now is just to debunk that ignorance, basically. Just because some of our struggles don't mirror that of the United States, for example, in regards to like the excessive brutality undergone by police, our struggles are still very real and they're still very valid. Systemic racism is rampant here in Ireland. It's evident in schools. It's evident within interactions with law enforcement. It's apparent amongst institutions and workplace, and it's an active issue within our healthcare system. So turning a blind eye or choosing not to acknowledge it does not make it any less real. It doesn't make it any less harmful. So our aim for today is to highlight some of these issues and bring them to the forefront. So for those who are in a position of change, our expectation is that you actively listen, that you hear our plight, that you take this information back to your respective institutions and you actively push for change. Because without actively pushing for change, all of this is null and void. We are all here to learn, unlearn, and relearn. There is no Switzerland or sitting on the fence. It's not enough to not be racist. You have to be anti-racist. And I'm aware that the last couple of weeks for most of us have been overwhelming, it's been draining and even triggering in some instances. However, the fight must continue. We need to dismantle and then rebuild the system. So we can't allow the movement to fizzle out or end here. We've done so much already in just a short amount of time, but we still have so much further to go. So it's understandable to be tired, to be drained, to be overwhelmed. So if you need to take a break, recharge, but then come back stronger, back ready to work. We need to go ahead and continue to use our voices, sign petitions, donate where possible, do your research, read up more, learn, read your literature, and learn your history. Because at the end of the day, without doing all of that, the whole movement it's for nothing. So with that said, we are going to go ahead and start today. Again, just want to say thank you to everybody. I will be joined by my lovely co-hosts, Deji and OJ. And we do have a wonderful line of speakers who will be here just to share their thoughts, their experiences, and we have a special guest, Dr. Aiden Kenny. He will also be present. So after each speaker, we will have about like 1 or 2 minutes for some questions. However, later on, we do have a open forum and we want everybody to get engaged and participate. So if you do have questions that we can't answer during those 1 or 2 minutes, feel free to put them in the chat box. OJ will be monitoring that and then we can go ahead and answer those questions. So yes, again, thank you so much, everybody. And I will turn it over to Deji, who will be speaking first.
Hey guys, I'm Deji. As Natasha said, I'll be speaking first. I'm one of the co-hosts. Excuse me. To be honest, when this whole thing came about, I wanted to kind of get involved because I'm just one of those people that I don't really like to speak on social media and stuff like that. So I kind of felt like if I'm not speaking on social media and I'm not really out in the streets with everybody, what am I actually doing to help the cause? So once this came about, I thought it'd be a great idea, a great thing to be a part of. And yeah, just as Natasha said, thank you for everyone coming out. And the thing about people saying that racism doesn't exist in Ireland just because people aren't out here calling us the N-word or punching us in the face because we're Black or killing us and stuff like that is absolutely bizarre to me, because I've experienced racism in every single point of my life. And I feel like what happens with us is that because it's just our reality, we just kind of overlook it like it's normal, but it really isn't. Like when I'm speaking today, I'm going to give an example of racism within the health within the health sector, racism within school, and just racism within dealing with police and just authority in general. And the first one I'd probably say easiest to go with is probably racism within healthcare. So sickle cell is a massive thing that I never heard about until about 2 years ago, which I know is mad, but no, like literally nobody ever told me, and it's something that I don't have any kids, so it's not really something that I was too worried about. But yeah, so after a while, everyone's getting on to me, did you go find out your genotype, go find out if you're AS, AA, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I had no idea what it was. So they was like, just go to your GP, ask him whatever you need to
They
know.
said that there's 45 people watching as well.
Yeah, what?
45 people watching as well.
Healthcare. So sickle cell is a massive thing. Yeah, okay, everyone's back on mute again, yeah. But yeah, so like I went to my GP and I was like, oh, people are telling me to find out what this genotype is or whatever. And he literally just told me that you don't need to know that. And I was like, okay. I just assumed because he knew better than me because he's a GP, he's gone to college for all this kind of stuff. He should know better than me. And I left, and then everyone started giving out to me like I was mad. And I was like, he told me I didn't need to know it. And it's just one of those things. Like I feel like even with people that I know that do have sickle cell, anytime they go to the hospitals, like just kind of leave them waiting there. People are saying that we're in pain, it hurts, and they're just kind of like, what's wrong with you kind of a situation. And I feel like that is a form of racism. It might not be as overt as spray paint and the N-word on someone's door or something like that, but it is still racism. My favorite things that have happened to me would be in school, having a racist principal. It's really weird having a racist principal. Like he wasn't overt with it, like he wasn't out here treating us mad different. Like all the black boys would leave school, we'd walk out of school together, and he just makes like comments like, oh, the black gang are gone again. Or like one of my boys was messing around in the hallway and he'd be like, oh, I'll put your name in the black book but no one will be able to see it. And one of my friends actually hit his head off the wall. It was like a serious thing, had a huge lump on his head. And the first thing the principal came over to say was, oh, you have a black bump growing out of your neck. Like, and with that, it's kind of like, if in school, they tell you that if something's wrong, you go to your teacher and they'll probably go up to the principal and all that. But if the principal is the problem, where do you go? Like, I actually don't know what to do. And we thought it was normal, once again, because we just never spoke about it. Like, we just found it funny. Like, it is what it is. But it's one of those situations, looking back on it now, it's like, it's not funny. It's not cool to just casually drop a couple of racist jokes here, stereotypes here and there, and kind of situation. And it's just, frankly, I feel like it's a situation where we're just not really heard. I also got suspended for having my hair too short. Like you were saying, my hair needs to be up to a number 2. I was like, my hair doesn't grow that long. So are you just going to suspend me forever? But look, that is what it is. And then the final one, the biggest one, which I could sit here all day long talking about, is racism when dealing with the guards. Like from the age of about 13, 14, maybe even 15, I've been stopped by the guards. They've searched us. They've done this, they've done that, like asking us where we're going, harassing us for no reason whatsoever. And then when I finally turned 17, it was the first time I was arrested. Well, actually, the only time I was arrested. I was arrested because me and my friends, we were walking home and we fit the description of people that were stealing phones. So they handcuffed us, put us in the van, took us to the guard station, took all of our phones off us, even though we'd had pictures of ourselves and like we proved that it was our phones. They still took our phones off us, threw us in a room, left us there for hours. This, like, I'm talking about, we're in there like 4 a.m. in the morning kind of a situation, still there. And then they finally released us. And the only thing that they had to say to us is that if we found out that was you guys, we'll be back, we'll come back for you. And we're like, okay. Didn't even give us a lift back to town, which was the worst part about it. But yeah, just then same night we're leaving, walking away, we're getting stopped by undercover guards as well. Like, it was just a whole mess of a night. I've been stopped because I was speeding. Whether I was or not speeding, that's not what we're talking about. But I was stopped because I was speeding, and the guards were gonna, they went through my car without asking me. Obviously, if someone's going through your car, you're gonna start like, what the hell are you doing? Then they threatened to arrest me, threatened to pepper spray me. Like, just stupid things happen. Like, I'm walking down the street with my hood up and my hat on, and I'm being stopped by a guard because he thinks that I look like someone that he's arrested before. Now he's demanding an ID, he's doing all these kind of things. And it's just like, these are things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis kind of situation that we don't really speak about because it's just kind of the norm, but it's not the norm. And I feel like something that we should be speaking about. And yeah, those are pretty much most of my experiences wrapped up into one little conversation, innit? And I'll hand you back over to my co-host, Natasha.
Perfect. Thank you, Deji, and thank you for sharing that with us, actually. And kind of how I like how you broke down your 3 different scenarios, and I think that's what I was referring to earlier about how it's systemic racism. So it's not just a specific, oh, the police are this, or it's this, or it's in every area that Black people have encounters with in their daily lives. So it's whether or not you go to the hospital, it's whether or not you're dealing with police or law enforcement. And I think that that's the issue. Like, we're constantly battling some different hurdles at each stage. So I thank you for kind of highlighting that. And up next, we're going to get on Shawnee Fisher. Shawnee Fisher, she's a youth worker and she hails from Denver, Colorado. So let's bring on Shawnee. Can we get on Shawnee?
Can you see me?
We can't see you.
Hey, all right.
I can't.
What is it doing? It's loading right now?
1 second, Sean.
Okay.
Sorry. Can we get Shawnee on the main stage?
Oh, how cute is that?
Shawnee's virtual. Okay, you can go ahead and. Sorry, guys. Shawnee, is your camera on?
Yeah.
It is?
Uh-huh. I'm looking at myself right now. That's weird. You can't see me?
No, I cannot.
Oh, should I share content? Oh, only hosts can share this meeting.
Oh, okay. I think.
I can see her.
You can see her?
Yeah, she's a little box, but I can see her, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. If you can see her, then Shawnee, you can go.
Okay.
Continue.
So I kind of want to like piggyback on something that like both of you said and kind of like hinted at was like, and kind of like trying to like narrow the focus of like what our solution should actually be, right? So like, as you mentioned that in healthcare, they kind of like invalidated his pain and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned how it's a systemic issue. And so I kind of want to tie those things together. So it is a systemic issue, right? Like, this goes back to even before our people was even born type stuff. Like eugenics was a thing where they tested on Black bodies because they believed that we couldn't feel pain as the other people, as other races. So that's been something they've been invalidating our pain since before born. So that's something that's already deeply entrenched in healthcare. Not only, and it's crazy that it's deeply entrenched in I too, because like I said, I'm out in the. So it's like, people are definitely aware of that, and we're definitely well versed on that. So just to see that commonality, it's like, it just brings home the point more that this is a battle against white supremacy, not just like, racism, because like anybody can be racist, like that can happen. The issue is here is that they actually have the power to kind of decide our fate in some weird stages. You know what I mean? Like Deji, like what if his situation was severe? You feel me? Like what if something would have happened to where he, like the worst could have happened? You see what I'm saying? Because they had that ability to make that decision that one, you're not in that much pain. Two, we're not gonna do nothing. So like go ahead and move along type of thing. You see what I'm saying? So they're in positions where they have powers to have an effect over our life, which is definitely not normal, which is something that we've definitely kind of normalized in a way and kind of like have existed through, you know what I mean? So I think like I said, I just wanted to that our battle is against white supremacy as a whole, because this is something that's actually control over us. Racism, if somebody didn't like us because of our color and that was it and they can't do nothing about it, that's fine. You feel me? Like our moms would say, like, they don't go home with us, they don't eat with us, they don't have no eyes over our money, but they actually do. So that's the for me, and I work with fairly. But my story with our younger kids, we have that was built in the neighborhood right by.
Sorry to interrupt you, Shawnee. If everybody could just make sure their mics are muted, please. If everybody could just make sure their mics are mute. Thank you. Sorry about that, Shawnee. Continue. Thank you.
That happens all the time. That happens to me in conference calls. So like I work at the Boys and Girls Club. I work with kids, but we had an elementary school that opened up in the neighborhood. I want to say maybe like 2 years ago. And that school was like the source of a lot of our younger kids. Like we had a whole lot of kids over there. But on the day-to-day, they will come and tell us like, oh, our teachers don't really like us. Like their teachers will literally say like, I wish I didn't have to put up with this, because their teachers are dealing with issues, with systemic issues that's falling on their shoulders. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, if they don't have enough money to fund the next year, which ended up happening, they had to close. So that frustration from them not getting the resources because of where the school is at, the kids they're serving, the population they're serving, all of that, there's no like urgency when it comes to those. That school was part of a bigger collective. That school was a part of an initiative to kind of like 180 to type of thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was supposed to be a major key to the neighborhood, and they're every day telling the kids like, I'm just here because I'm just here to be closed. I'm just waiting until the last day. And the kids will literally come tell us the things where our kids deal with in school, and they think it's just like, and we kind of like wipe it off and like kind of push past it. But I think it's something that even we as the older generation now, we can attest that we still remember major issues from elementary school. Like we still remember major encounters. Like, you see what I'm saying? So that actually, and it's had a major effect on us. So it's just knowing like our kids are in this system where they're not really cared for. You feel me? Not in the way where they should be. And I'm not even saying like that, because I think a lot of times this conversation gets mixed up with, we need more Black teachers. We need more Black bodies. Nah, there's Black bodies holding up white supremacy as well. So what we need is people actually going to, like you said, take action. Actively make, like, not just sit here. Like I think it's dope that you have a platform, that you all have a platform where you're informing people, but you're also encouraging people that this isn't it. This is the fall summit. Acknowledge like the fall summit. You think you done, but you're not really there. You feel me? You still gotta wait up till you get to change, type of thing. So I feel like right now a lot of people are at their fall summit. A lot of people are coming to the realization, and I hope that this is the spark that makes people have these conversations in these areas where it's never been had. Because even though like, I think like the thing is, we know it's a ploy. We know it's like a social media thing for businesses to like release statements and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Protect their profits, but it's still going to force a conversation somewhere. I hope, like, you know what I mean? My hope is that there's still a body in there that's going to like be the voice. And if you feel like you're in a situation at your job where no one's talking about it, you're gonna have to be that voice. Like sometimes really like you're really just sitting there like, dang, everyone's so quiet, no one's talking about it. You talk about it, they know it's out there, they watch the news, they know what's going on, like, you know what I mean? So my thing is like, one, we got to get to the root of the issue, which is white supremacy. Which is that's the basis of a lot of things I believe in. Like, we're not going to attack it just from talking about these little issues like the rioters, the property damage, all that is what it is. That's the casualty of war. You know what I mean? We need to talk about how we actually got here. Like, so I think that's my piece and that's my experience.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing, Shani. I don't know if anyone has any questions, but real quick, I kind of just want to tackle how you said like the whole confronting issues, especially at work. I know when I went to work after everything that had gone on, I expected questions. I expected, okay, people were going to have conversations. Okay, I'm ready. No one spoke about it. No one. And it's obviously, and a lot of us, I know, especially here in Ireland, like a lot of us are the only Black people or one of the few Black people at our jobs or in our positions or whatever. So it's kind of uncomfortable. Like, do I want to put myself in that, in a situation where it's like, okay, I can bring it up, but then I'm uncomfortable or I'm ostracized or I make my coworkers comfortable. But I think the whole point is that this is uncomfortable. Like, it's uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be. And it's okay to make other people uncomfortable, because the conversations need to be had, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And I feel like, I think for you, what would you like, well, how would you say is the best way to kind of hit that head on?
So I always believe in starting within and going out type of thing. So it starts with you decide like what do you believe in?
Mm-hmm.
Even be ready to die behind it. And I like feel that wholeheartedly. So once you get there and you find your community of people that believes in similar things, or even if they don't, they're gonna support you in that. Because what we're lacking is support. You feel me? Because we're looking to outside sources, I feel like a lot for support. We should have our own FBI. We should have our own DEA. We should have all that. You feel me? Like we shouldn't have to rely on them. Like, oh, we need the FBI in here for all these. Like we should be able to do that ourselves. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like in order to get there, we have to start like at a point where we have our small communities that we're working with. Like there's this flight. I don't know if any of y'all seen it. I'm gonna find a way to post it. But there's this going around about economic withdrawal for the Black community, and I've been sending out around via text message. They started out on Instagram, which is like kind of sloppy, you feel me? Because it's like you're pretty much letting them know what we doing type stuff. So people retracted from that, and then they started texting everybody, which was dope. I like that. But what we have to do is hold each other accountable for those type of things. Like when we make mind that we're gonna make a move, we actually move on it. Like we actually take that initiative, because you can say everything you want to do, but if you don't set up a plan for it, if you don't hold yourself or your party accountable for it, it falls through. And that's what I think seen a lot since the civil rights movement, since it came to our like the generation after that. Like we felt like, all right, that's cool. That was a battle against race. That's what that was. You feel me? Now we battling against a whole system of control, because like you said, it needs to be dismantled. It needs to be rebuilt into something that's going to fit these times. It didn't age well at all. And it's like, that's what we need people to understand. That's the message to get across, is that this system that we're following is aging horribly. And we just going along with it like it's cute. Like, so I just think start within your communities, hold people accountable. And then what's going to happen is that's going to become a norm to where it pours out into the collective. You feel me? And that's what.
Okay. Well, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing, Shawnee. That was super insightful. So I want to appreciate you coming from, I know it's early there, right? It's like, what?
It's like late afternoon, so we fine.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just going to move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker being Amanda. If we can get Amanda up. Amanda, you ready?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Well, wait, no, it's gone again. Ready. Okay, I think we're good.
Good to go, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me, yeah?
I can hear you.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So thank you very much, Shawnee. That was really good, really insightful. Basically, like I can only really speak from like my own experience. I can only really speak from where I'm at right now, and that's Ireland.
Yeah.
And where I would see like a lot of the things that Shawnee kind of spoke about, like essentially it's kind of in parallel, but where I feel like things differ a little bit for us here, and that's why I feel like this platform is a good way to address it. Is like, as much as we want to, we stand in solidarity with the States and with the plight of Black people over there, but it's going to look very, very different for us here in Ireland in terms of how we move forward, and the issues that we need to address and that we need to face here. So I feel like there's no really point going around and saying, like, trying to convince you guys here that racism exists in Ireland. I'm pretty sure that everyone in this forum would that's just a unanimous, understanding that racism is very, very real in Ireland. And I feel like our number one thing at the moment to try and confront would probably just be ignorance, I feel, in Ireland. And a lot of the population, and I've seen this in the last couple of weeks, just from posting online and stuff, a lot of people, before a lot of this happened, genuinely did not believe that racism existed in Ireland. they genuinely were not conscious of the fact at all that racism like could even be possible in Ireland. And I feel like it's just very, very interesting, because it's literally like, you know, people staying in the same country and having two completely different experiences of the same place. So that's why conversations like this are good, and I feel like they, like Natasha said, they need to continue being had, regardless of how awkward or how, you know, sticky the topic might be. So yeah, definitely moving forward, I feel like having these kind of conversations, you know, opening up those pathways for having those conversations and having platforms like this, you know, to share information with people, and, you know, just really tackle the problem of ignorance, I feel, in Ireland. And that is one problem. And as much as a lot of it is genuine ignorance, and, you know, sometimes because a major thing in like the Irish culture would be like banter, and everything being like taken as a joke. And, you know, a lot of the time the banter crosses the boundaries of being funny or being a joke, and genuinely, and then enters the territory of now being completely offensive. And a lot of that is intentional, I know, by a lot of people, but a lot of it is also unintentional. So educating, I feel like pushing out information, sharing stories, again, like I said, having platforms like this is really, it's vital going forward. And just opening, I feel like in the last couple of days, especially, let's say a week, a lot of people's eyes have been opened to the reality of what a lot of Black Irish people face on a daily basis. And just like so many similar stories, like Deji's story, that's happening every day across the country. And a lot of people are completely oblivious to the fact. So definitely, you know, just like sharing information, having these conversations, and wherever that may be, whether that's in your workplace, like Shawnee says, if no one's talking about it, you talk about it. In schools, in whatever your sphere of influence might be, in your friends or whatever, you be that voice, you be that change. Just for like a Black Irish community, just looking at it like on a large scale, realistically, like there's only been mass immigration into Ireland over the last, let's say, 20 to 30 years. People only really started coming into this country in the late 90s, let's say, on a large scale. So the Black Irish community is still very young. It is still very fresh. And I feel like we are not yet, I'm sorry, Shawnee, but we're not yet at the stage of where the states are. And I feel like that's a very, very good thing for us. And that's a thing that we need to, you know, really hold on to right now, and just make sure that we don't get to that level. We don't get to the stage where people are now being killed on the streets like we witnessed. So definitely, like, everyone taking the initiative now to just push for that change, keep pushing, keep having those conversations, keep, you know, pushing for that change, and wherever that may be. So yeah, like I said, the Black Irish community is still very, very young, and a lot of the problems I feel like we face as a Black Irish community, yes, racism is a very big part, but I feel like there's a lot of things we ourselves, we also need to tackle, and we also need to, you know, look at, and we also need to address. And this entire, you know, period, this last couple of weeks, I've seen people come together in this country like I've never seen before. In the past, there's been a lot of division, but, you know, I think everyone kind of getting into a space now where they're okay with vulnerability, they're okay with sharing these experiences, and these things that was now what is binding us together as the Black Irish community, and also with some of our white counterparts, and, you know, people from other ethnic backgrounds. So I'm just basically saying that this is a very, very special time, and I feel like this is a vital turning point for moving forward, and we can really, you know, take this, like, seize this opportunity to rewrite whatever we want out the history of what the Black Irish community is in this country. Just seize this moment, seize this time, and whatever changes you feel like need to be made, or you feel like need to, you know, happen, push for that. Now is the time. Now, like, when there's still momentum, when people are still, you know, people are still like, when it's still in people's memories, when it's still in people's minds, when people are still emotional about it, like, really just push for that change, seize this opportunity, seize this time, because, like, as Natasha said, it's going, and people are gonna stop talking about it. So while everyone's still, you know, on the same, while everyone's still on the same boat, while everyone's still on the same, you know, wavelength, just keep pushing for that change. Let's just keep trying.
Okay.
Here. Hello?
Yeah, sorry, just making sure everybody's mute. Like if y'all
Yeah.
Sorry, BJ, can you mute the real like you and take that account? Thank you.
Alrighty, can we get Amanda back on the screen, please? Sorry, guys. Can we get Amanda back on the screen, please?
I can see myself.
Okay, perfect. You're back.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, essentially, I'm just at the end of it anyway. But yeah, just to kind of encourage everyone here, you know, just keep pushing, keep talking, keep having those conversations. But also take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, take care of your well-being. And this entire time has been, like, for me personally, it's been very, like, emotionally charging. Just so many different emotions over such a short period of time. So just be sure to take care of yourself and take time out when you do need to take it. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. I liked how you kind of tapped into the whole aspect of banter, and like how even me being like a Black girl in secondary school, like the little microaggressions, like the, oh my God, your hair feels like cotton candy, or just weird, strange comments that's like, why would you say this to a person? And as young people, we're kind of thought like, oh, you know, we just kind of have to take that, or they're just, you know, asking questions, they don't know. We just have to take it, even though. So I feel like for so long we were forced to be uncomfortable and be put in situations that we didn't want to be in order for them to be comfortable, and that in itself is not okay. We should be able to say, you know what, don't touch my hair, or that's an odd question to ask. However, like, and that's not to say don't ask questions, because we do want questions to be asked. At the end of the day, we don't want elephants in the room, but it's just to be able to vocalize like, hey, that's not okay. So I kind of like how you touched on that, and the fact that the community, the Black community in Ireland is young. So like you said, we do have that opportunity to capitalize and seize the moment. And it's a beautiful thing to see the fire within the community, especially the young people. So I want to commend everybody that's just basically been active, that's been participating, that's been trying to read up more or learn more. Yeah, and I think we have a question. I think Deji has a question. Okay.
I didn't really. It's not really a question. It's just more of a, because the thing that you said the most that actually got to me was the banter thing. Oh my God, everyone is always bantering. Like I was one time I was at work eating lunch, and they're asking me, is it jerk with chicken and blah 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 and blah blah blah. But I feel like you said, ignorance is a massive thing, and I feel like it'd actually be pretty beneficial if everyone that does end up speaking shares one piece of banter that was directed towards them, that they kind of at the point they might have been like and then looking back at it and say, hold on, wait, that's weird. For me personally, mine is walking with some of my white friends and being a guarded car pulls by and it's like, oh, they're looking for you, and I'm just like, well, that's supposed to be funny, like. But that's what I'd like to hear from everyone anyways.
Can I just jump in? The one for me that automatically comes to my mind is and I got this so many times growing up, is if like a friend or someone would go away on holiday to like Spain or somewhere and they come back with a tan, and then it was like, oh Amanda, look, I'm nearly as black as you. It's like so.
We can all relate to that one.
Literally, like, so unnecessary. But
it's so, I think that's it, and then it's like we're just expected to giggle, and it's like, okay, and it's, yeah, but call it out, because just as much as you don't, like, I know that being afraid, especially because we're often by ourselves, there's often not another person of color, so if that happens, call it out. It's not like being uncomfortable to make other people comfortable. It's not worth it.
That part. That because
Alrighty, so thank you so much again, Amanda, for sharing. We really appreciate you coming out to share with us. We will move on to our next speaker, which is going to be Stephen Kinvey. Is Stephen ready by any chance? Stephen?
Hey guys. Can everybody hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
Can you? Awesome.
Yes. Can we get Steven on the main stage, please? Awesome. There he is. Okay.
You hear me?
Hey, Steven. Yes.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. So first of all, thank you, Amanda. That was great. And thanks to everybody at Girls Arise for setting this up, and also Leash in Africa. I've definitely been the type of person that has suppressed almost all of my racial encounters, all my racist sort of emotions, just because whenever I think of it, it sort of haunts me, to be honest. I remember a couple of weeks before all of the Black Lives Matter movement started, I had a conversation with my brother's girlfriend, and it was quite intense because I was standing up and saying, there's no racism in Ireland, there's very little racism in Ireland, just because I feel like I've hidden all of these emotions. You know? After it was a long conversation, it got emotional as well, where I went to my room and I was kind of like, okay, do you know what? Maybe I should let these emotions out. It's okay to feel this pain. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay not to be positive all the time. I just try and be positive and move on with my business. Yeah, I have 3 stories that I kind of had to think about, and I was kind of like, oh, these were like very racist moments. I'll share them with you. The first one is when we first moved over to Ireland 15 years ago from Togo. We lived in one estate, and our house got got broken into. They robbed all my mom's jewelry. They broke our front door a couple of times, broke the front window. We moved to a different estate. They would burn our bins all the time, and then break into our house again. We decided to move from there into where we are now. And another encounter was when I hung around with certain friends around the age of 15. And, I was trying to fit in. I was really trying to fit in. All my friends were Irish. And, we'd have a few drinks on the field as a black paddy, I remember one of the guys calling me the N-word one time. And I got really angry. And himself and I ended up fighting. In the middle of the fight, while I thought all the other guys were my friends, they all jumped on me. They were all Irish. Thinking back at it now, that was a very racist encounter, but that didn't stop there. In school, the same group after that encounter started bullying me to the point where I'd have to stay back in school a few minutes, let's say 30, 40 minutes, just so that they would leave before I step out. All of these emotions, again, I've buried them as a coping mechanism for moving forward. The other one is a friend of mine recently sold his company for a couple of millions, did really well for himself. And he drives a really nice car. He drives a BMW i8. The same one as Conor McGregor, and he gets stopped on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. The guy stopping him to ask whether or not he had drugs or just to see if he was a con artist. I feel like that's what it's come to in Ireland. It's an example of systemic racism and racial profiling. Just thinking a Black person can't excel in Ireland. That's one that really haunted me as well. The last one is a very personal one. When I started the company 3 years ago, there's this fund that most startups can apply to in Ireland. And we've applied to it 13 times. First time we applied to it, they said we didn't have a platform. So we created a platform. They said we didn't have customers. So we got customers and applied again. They said we didn't have enough paying customers. So we got paying customers. And then they said the company wasn't scalable enough. So then we scaled the company to 5 countries around Europe. We applied, they just said, your business is not viable. But we have over 2,000 paying customers around Europe. The business is doing really well. So I feel that's another example of systemic racism, but how do you call it out? Do you know? There's a lot of different variables to it. They'll say you're not working hard enough, which we clearly are. You know, so yeah, they've been my encounters with systemic racism. And again, for a long time, I hit it all. You know, I completely hit it just to keep moving. So I'm right now, I'm learning a lot. I'm educating myself. Amanda's video really inspired me. Your video a couple of weeks ago. I think I watched it like 3 times. I've created a document that I'm going to share with everybody. I'm going to post it in here now. And it basically will educate people a little bit more about systemic racism, racial profiling. I've included Amanda's video in there as well. Femi Bankole and a couple of guys have started an Instagram page called Black and Irish, which is doing really, really well. They're sharing Black people's experience and racial encounters in Ireland. The Prime Minister Leo has also reached out to them to thank them for creating the page, which I think is fantastic. So I got onto a call with Femi to learn more about it, just because I don't know enough about the topic. So I hope that educates some people as well. Yeah, so there's 3 ways mainly that I feel we can fight racism in Ireland. I have them here somewhere. So the first one is, I feel we can educate each other about racism, because up until a month ago, I knew very little about it. I knew very little about systemic racism, about organizational racism, racial profiling. I knew very little about oppressing. So I'm learning more and more, and it's okay not to know enough, you know? It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to call a friend, like it's okay to call Amanda, or there's a lovely lady that I've been learning a lot from, Sunita, just to see, you know, educate me, please. The other one is we need more white allies. I was at the Black Lives Matter protest on last Saturday, and I was amazed by how 3/4 of the people there were white. Well, it wasn't a black against white, or white against every other race. It was humans against racism, and it was beautiful to see. So we need more white allies, educating other white people and Black people about the topic. And the last one is, as a Black man in Ireland, a Black paddy that runs a business. I would definitely say supporting Black businesses is very important, because a lot of the odds are against us, and I've experienced this. So please support Black businesses. And if you feel like a Black business could be better at marketing, help them. If you feel like their video content could be more efficient, help them. So any way we can help each other, we need to start doing that. Yeah, so thank you for listening.
Yo, so Stephen, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Thank you for your contribution, because it felt like you were speaking to me, kind of a situation. Because how I see it is that issue of suppressing all these emotions and all this kind of stuff, something that I deal with as well. Because yesterday, I found out about direct provisions 2 days ago, and yesterday it kind of popped up in my head. I was like, oh wait, hold on, that's how I got into the country, kind of situation. And I feel like something that a lot of people don't realize is that having to sit there, like you said, you applied for a grant 13 times, having to sit there and be like, hold on, is it because I'm Black, or is it because I'm not good enough? And I just wanted to ask you, how did you deal with that? How did you sit there and come to the conclusion of like, okay, because I've met you personally, you're just a positive guy. And for me as well, how I see it is that if I get denied for anything, it's not because I'm Black, it's because maybe I just wasn't as good as the next person, or maybe I just wasn't as good as the next person. So how did you sit there and, first of all, to apply 13 times is absolutely ridiculous. After 5, I'm like, you know what, it's cool, it's not for me. But how did you come to the conclusion of like, how did you sit down and process that information of like, hold on, is it that I'm actually good enough, but there's something that I don't know what it is that is holding me back from even just getting this grant?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't even know how I did it. To be honest, just playing sports, we've been taught to never give up, really, and to keep going no matter what. I play competitive basketball, and I have a note on my board which says, "You can't hurt me, you can't stop me." So every time they rejected us, we went even harder. I won't lie. Come home, I'd cry. I'd get back on the laptop. I go again. And this happened multiple times to the stage where it wasn't hurting me anymore. You know, when I got the rejection email, I'm like, fuck it. I don't need yous. I can do this regardless. So I started saving my own money from my income to invest into the business. 15,000 was what we were applying for. Now the business is too big for that 15,000. You know, most people say Black founders are over mentored and underfunded, thinking we are just not educated enough to run a business. That's systemic racism. You know, so yeah, how did I do it? I just kept going, man. Just kept going. Like can't hurt me, can't stop me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And first of all, shout out to you, because my guy. My last question is that, as someone that's a business owner, and I know a couple business owners, and your business is almost like your baby. Like you said, you got denied for something, so you cried. Like, it's a normal thing. Like, it's something that's very close to your heart. So me as a consumer, if I have a question about, if I think your marketing is below par, or if I think that there's a couple of things that could be tweaked in your company, how do you think, as a business owner, or someone can approach another, like a customer can approach a business owner and say that without coming across as offensive? Or because if I like, I've seen a couple businesses and I'm like, they have something there, but it's just missing that touch of like finesse kind of a situation, and it's just not as clean as it should be, and things aren't done as professional as it should be. But I know if I come out and I say that, personally, I think you should treat your customers better, or invest more into your marketing, I know that I'm going to be labeled as, oh, you're just a hater, or yeah, I don't like you. So how do you feel like, as a business owner, someone that owns a business, someone can come to you and be like, you need to tighten up on XYZ without offending the person?
Yeah, I think it depends in the way in which you say. If you come in as if you know better, their defense walls might come up. But if you come in as in, hey, I'm just kind of looking out for you here, I can help. It could be slightly different, and say exactly what you think they could do. So for instance, if you feel like we Act the Fund should put up more Instagram stories, you could say, hey, I love your Instagram stories. Could you please put more up? I feel like your users may benefit from it. I don't like the word user. Your customers may benefit from it. And then from there on, you could give an example of how they could benefit from it. I mean, when I usually say that to people, I usually say, hey, I want to see you win. And I feel like something like that at the end of it just sort of reassures them that you do want the best for them.
All right, Grant. And my last question to you is, what's the piece of banter that might have been taken too far?
I didn't really think about that too much. To be honest, I'm usually the one that would make the joke about, oh, you're nearly as dark as me. So I'm probably guilty for that one. Yeah, I didn't think of that one.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm trying to be like you and a girl, man.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Stephen, for coming on, for sharing.
Can I jump in there for 2 seconds?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sorry. Just to answer, there was someone in the comment section asking if there's basically just information about like Black businesses in Ireland. And just for those that don't know, there is a newly formed. We're still in the process of registration, so that should be done within the next week. But it's all legit. There is a forum called IBO, so it's a collective. There's a few of us, and it's basically just a directory of Black-owned businesses in Ireland. So it's IBO, stands for Irish Black Owned. So there's a website there. Any businesses that are registered under us are listed in the directory, and what is it? Guidance is provided, mentorship is provided, and then We also source investments for the businesses as well. So we like look at stuff like marketing, finance, access to loans, that kind of thing, just kind of help small business owners, really grow and expand. So if anyone doesn't know, it's IBO, Irish Black owned. So please check it out if you have a minute.
Amazing.
That's awesome. Amanda, can you like write that in the chat by any chance, just in case anybody?
Yep,
missed it? That would be
for
awesome.
sure.
Okay, thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Stephen, for sharing. We will move on to our last speaker. It's going to be Saoirse Jack. Is Saoirse ready by any chance?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Perfect, thank you.
Can you see me? Can you hear me? Yeah, it's all good.
Wait, okay, you're not here. Great, hold up. Can we get Saoirse back on the main screen, please?
Okay, yeah?
I think just a second. She on the main? Can y'all see her? Y'all can.
I can.
You can? Okay, well, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here. I'm new to this whole activism life, but I feel like I'm looking to you guys as my older peers to help educate me as well, because I feel like I still have a lot to learn. Like, I'm an artist with a big enough platform to be able to push this message. So I definitely want to get enough information so I can push it in the right way. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm trying to be active in this movement. But basically, I feel like everyone said everything that I wanted to say, so thank you so much for that. But I feel like my take on everything is, because I'm an artist, I can say that systemic racism is so true. Even growing up and having big aspirations of trying to be a singer, as a person of color, you know yourself, it's already hard enough to get your parents to help you. Like, there's such a stigma in Black homes that you can't do anything artistic. Or the Black community won't support you as an artist because people think, oh, they're not going to succeed. And not even just the Black community, the white community. So it's hard enough because people think, oh, if I try for this, I'm not going to get it anyway because I'm Black, or because the system is already built up against me. What's the point of even trying? And I feel like growing up, I was lucky enough to have parents who had the mindset of, let's give her a chance, because they saw that I was passionate about it. I pushed for it. Like Stephen said, with his business, it's like his baby. This career of mine is my baby. I wasn't gonna let anyone stop me. And even when I said, oh, in school, I would always say this. And like anyone who's in school with me knows, I would always say, oh, I want to be as big as this influencer one day. And they're like, oh no, you're never gonna be as big as them. I was like, that is such the wrong mentality to have. Like, how are we supposed to push each other to go for our dreams? How are we supposed to even funding each other's businesses is one thing, but when we have the mindset of you're not even gonna make it, how are we supposed to even get funding then? This is why people don't want to fund each other, because they think, oh, that's not even gonna work. Or maybe that person's gonna give up in a couple months, so what's the point in putting money towards this? Like the way Shawnee said, we shouldn't be looking out to other people to fund us. We should be coming together as a collective and funding each other, helping each other. These collectives are so true. Like, they're so good because we definitely need to come together as a people. But like I said, in the industry, in the music industry anyway, there's just so much systemic racism. Not even just in the music industry, but in every industry, there's so much systemic racism. Like, as somebody who's young, I've been doing this music thing since I was 14, recording, trying to put my songs out and everything. There are certain, radio stations who refuse to play my music. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to say. It's just such a stigma of, I don't want to pull the race card. But it's not a race card, it's a lifestyle. We live this thing every day. It's not a card. And the thing is, it's like we have a superpower where we can see when people are being evil to us and no one else can. Because when you try and explain it to other people, they don't want to understand. And it becomes willful ignorance because no one wants to understand where we're coming from. Even with the Black Lives Matter movement, yes, there is a lot of people pushing it. And yes, there are a lot of white people going to the protests, putting it on their stories, putting it out there. But at the end of the day, this is a lifestyle for us. And it just makes a person wonder, how long will this momentum last? And that's why when I tried to go to a few, artists to say, guys, we need to push this out, we need to push out this movement, and I'm being told, oh, I don't want to get involved with racism. I want to wait till this dies down because it's a little too controversial for me right now, because they want to be putting out a single first before they help their own people. It's like, where's the line? Because those same people that you aren't rushing forward to help are the same people who are buying your music. Right. They're buying your albums. They're funding your career, period. They're the people who show up for you. So why are you not showing up for them? And this is the same with every business, whether in the music industry, even the cake making industry. You know who your audience is, so you should give back to the people the same way they give to you. It's just really hard. So with the systemic racism thing, like I said, there's the part of the race card. You're not allowed to pull the race card ever because it's a card. It's seen as controversial. Yeah. A lot of white people don't even want to talk about it because they're like, is that even racism? People don't even know what racism is. And like Amanda and everyone said, with the banter, they think it's a joke. They think, oh, I'm having a joke with my friend, it's banter. Who am I harming? But the thing is, I'm kind of double-minded on that because it's like, you accept the love you think you deserve. So to a certain extent, we need to, when we meet people, we need to give them a certain stance and be like, this is what I stand for. This is what I expect when you're around me and my people. Don't say this type of thing about Black people, period. And this is like, we're almost afraid to give that stance because we come off as aggressive. We come off as our energy's weird. These are all words that keep being used. And I'm like, but if it was a white person saying this, I believe in this, giving clear and concise points, not being rude, not calling anyone names. No, it's still aggressive. But how am I aggressive? So it's just all a stigma. And I wanted to say a few things that have happened to me. It's just so hard to say them though, because when these things happened, Steven said, I kind of overlooked them. I didn't even realize it was racism at the time. And then when you grow up and you start speaking to older people, you kind of get the courage to tell your parents about it. They're like, why did you take that? And I'm like, because I didn't know that it was an option to not take it. So because of who I was surrounded by at the time, like growing up in Ireland, we're surrounded by people who don't look like us most of the time. So therefore, there's this narrative of we have to fit in. We have to change ourselves. We have to accept what they say before we can accept ourselves. And it's like, then you grow up and you realize, who am I? Who am I now? Because when I was growing up, I wasn't given the chance to figure it out because I was always forced to be a different person so I would even fit in. It's just really mad. So oh my days, today something crazy happened because now that this whole movement is happening, I feel like I've experienced more racism than I ever have because people are kind of having the mindset of, I'm not gonna let these Black people tell me what I can and can't do. So therefore they're trying to make examples of us. So, it's so juicy. Hey, so yesterday I went to the shops with my dad and my sister and we were buying alcohol. I'm over 18, I'm turning 19. My dad's obviously over 18. He's a 40-year-old man. He's a 40-year-old Black man. So, and my little sister was there with me. So we put the alcohol on the tray, everything's fine. The man looks at us, he looks at my dad and he goes, 3 IDs, I need 3 IDs. And it's like, where's that law though? Where's that law? Like, why are you saying you want 3 IDs from us? So I said, excuse me, sir. Sorry.
It's okay, take your time.
Sorry, I have an autistic brother. He's probably popping in now. But I said, where's the law that says you need 3 IDs when there's 2 people here that are over 18? I gave my ID straight away when he asked, but he still kept shouting in our face, 3 IDs, I want 3 IDs from all of you. And it's like, why are you coming to me with that energy? But if the roles were reversed and it was a person of color shouting that back at 3 white people, what would you see? You would see security called. You would see people rushing forward to say, excuse me, why are you talking to them like that? Everyone looked at the situation, did nothing. Even my dad was stunned. And he's a 40-year-old Black man. He was stunned and I had to talk for him. And I had to be like, excuse me, sir. I'm very sorry to say this, but he's not my brother. He's my father. So I don't know why you think that you can, just come to us with, this discrimination straight off when you see us, this energy ready to go, ready to argue. It's like, this kind of thing isn't made, it's taught. And I feel like with racism, it really is just a thing that's taught in your family life, in your day-to-day life. Who you surround yourself with day-to-day is so important. It really just does dictate how you act to other people. So we ended up just saying, look, we have the IDs. The police even the security guards had to come over and be like, is everything okay? And we're like, yeah, just leave it. We're not gonna do anything about it. But it's like, that's another instance where we have to turn the other cheek. Yet someone is clearly being racist, so clearly being racist. But no, we must always turn the other cheek, because then we play into these narratives of aggression, bad energy, too much to handle. And it's like, where are we able to be ourselves? Where are we allowed to be outraged as people? We're humans. We shouldn't have to take this the way you shouldn't have to take this. But no, there's a double standard always, double standards. Oh, I'm sorry. And then today, another thing happened. And I'm like, this is really showing, this whole movement is really showing people's real colors. Our own neighbors, right? Our own neighbors fully said to us, and we were talking about this whole movement, and they said, my mom mentioned, how come you haven't asked us as our neighbors who supposedly care about us? And I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. Everyone knows about the Black Lives Matter movement. Your neighbors know, even though they may act like they don't see the news, even though they may act like they don't see you walking around looking distraught day to day. They don't care to go and knock on your door and simply say, hey, are you okay? I see what's going on in the community. I just want to ask how you and your family are doing right now. They can't be bothered. And it's like, when we said this, they were like, oh, well, all lives matter. And we have our own issues. And it's, this narrative of all lives matter. They do, they really do. Human beings as a whole should matter. They should, but when the majority, and by the way, if you know your statistics about the world, then you know that the minority is the majority in the world as a whole. There's more Black people and people of color in the world than there is white. So how come there's so much inequality? And if the majority is being oppressed, then how are we all equal? How are we all equal when the majority of the world is being oppressed? And my mom was like, no, I'm sorry, it's not all lives matter until Black Lives Matter as well. And oh my God, she was like, our neighbor was like, why are you trying to say that I'm racist then? Why are you insinuating this? Why are you even asking me these questions? I've lived next to you for 12 years. Yes, but what have you done? What have you done? Like, I don't see you going to protest. And to be fair, you don't have to go to a protest. You have your own lives. People have stuff going on. But at the end of the day, don't say you're anti-racist when you're not active, when you're not actively doing things to show that you aren't, when you're not actively doing things to give back to a community that you can clearly see is being oppressed. I'm sorry, if we're not being oppressed, why are we on the news every day? Why is there a hashtag circulating the whole internet? We've taken over the internet with this now. Why is that had to happen for people to even acknowledge that this is a thing? And just because it's in America doesn't mean that racism isn't global. Racism has no borders. This is what Amanda said the other day. And it was so eye-opening. Racism has no borders. You're not telling me that there's Black people in every single country and, oh, only in a few countries they're not racist. No, everywhere is racist, everywhere. To the point where if you want to go on holiday, you have to look up which areas are racist. Why should we have to do that? Why should we have to change our lives and go out of our way to protect ourselves in ways that people can never understand? Even the way Deji was saying, his friends making jokes about the police pulling up behind them. Oh, are they coming for you? That's sick to me. It's sick on another level because you know what goes on in the world. You know how deep it is, but you choose to be ignorant. So that's pretty much all I want to say. I don't want to take up too much time, but yeah, I feel like if I talk anymore, I'm gonna get angry. So
no, thank you for sharing because you've been dropping gems. So thank you. I do want to touch on something you said about the whole respectability politics, and I think that's something that us as Black people we face. And then I know, like, in terms of like issues of like you kind of touched on work you touched on like how relating with people, you don't want to voice when you've been made uncomfortable, call people out because of being scared to be labeled as aggressive or angry. And I think that as Black people, that's something we all face, that having to almost be perfect, having to smile and take things on the chin and just be uncomfortable just to make other people comfortable. So I like how you touched on that, and I like how Stephen touched on that. So it just kind of shows that it's like a constant theme, and it's not something we should settle for. So thank you for that.
Change who you are as a person.
Yes, exactly.
Like, we shouldn't have to do that, because I feel like also a stigma in the Black community is mental health. Like, that affects someone's mental health long term. You tell me that I have to change who I am day to day. I have to simmer myself, lower my spirit almost. And that's not going to affect my mental health? Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right, can we get Lisa back on the video, please? Not sure what happened there.
Could I touch up on something there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, touching up on your points here. I also believe that we should all just be ourselves. You know, Black people, we all have our own differences as well. So we shouldn't be put into the one bucket, essentially. You know, and a lot of the times I would find that I'm doing things and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't do this. They're gonna look at all Black people this way. It shouldn't be like that. I should be me. Another Black person should be them, just like all white people, all other races. We shouldn't be put into the one bucket. I remember when myself and my ex-girlfriend were at a dinner table and there was something on the news. Well, I was with her family, she's Irish, and something was on the news about a Black man abusing a white woman. I was so devastated. I was sitting there like, oh my God, like, oh shit. Like, I'm here with my Irish girlfriend and her parents and family, and there's this Black guy that beat up an Irish woman, and I'm like, fuck, they're gonna look at all the same. They're gonna look at us the same. And that shouldn't be that way, you know?
You almost get angry at the whole race, because you're like, who else is gonna do something to diminish us? Who else is gonna do something to label us again?
Yeah.
But that's not fair. Everyone's different. Everyone has different souls.
And I think I want to touch on that actually. The thing with Black people is that, okay, so like you kind of highlighted that you saw that one instant and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, man, they're gonna look at me this way. But no other race feels that. No other race is labeled according to one person's action. I think that's what I mean about respectability politics. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be well-spoken. We don't have to act a certain way in order to be treated well. It's a human right thing. We don't have to pander to other races or specifically white people just to be accepted or just to be allowed to spaces. So I think that's what I kind of want to emphasize. You don't owe anybody anything. So
can I just remind everyone, by the way, in Ireland, there's no laws or even guidelines against racism or hate speech. So everything that happens to us in Ireland, we can't even report it. And if we report it, it doesn't go on file. It doesn't go on file. It doesn't get investigated. Nothing happens. At least, you know, in other countries, you can report it. At least it goes on file. Even if nothing's done, you know, you can at least report it and maybe they'll take you seriously. There's no chance of us being taken seriously here.
Okay. Sorry guys, sorry, minor technical difficulty. Okay, well, we got it back. So just to conclude that, thank you, Saoirse. Like I said, you dropped gems. So I really appreciate you coming to share your experience and just kind of share your thoughts. However, we are going to move on to our open forum. So I will call OJ up and then we're just going to ask some questions, and then we want you guys to be very interactive. This is that we want everyone to have that conversation. And so participation is important here, guys. So if you have any questions, like I said, go ahead and put them in the chat, and then yeah, we're gonna put them through there.
I've actually got a quick question. Oh no, go ahead.
Also, hi guys. Did you have something to say? My name's OJ, by the way.
I just had a question touching on what Stephen actually said, and one of the things that he said is that we needed more white allies. Now, my question is, because something that Sirsa, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, I'm terrible with names. Sirsa said, and it's that what did she say again? Yeah, racism is something that's taught, not like it's not something that just happened to something that's taught. So my question is, I understand that there are people that are racist, there are people that are ignorant and don't know that racism is going on, and then there are people that are allies. My question is, those people that are racist, does anybody, this is out to everybody, everyone in the chat and everything, do you guys think that those people that are racist, there any way to turn them into allies, or it's just that it's that line in the sand and it's them against us for good until they're pretty much one of us is out of here?
Wait, can you repeat that last line, DJ? I'm sorry, I missed it.
What I'm pretty much saying is people that are like racist, right? Like just undeniably racist. Is there, does anybody feel like there's a way to make them allies, or is it that they're just going to be the ops until the end of time?
Can I just say one thing about that? Says, blessed are the peacemakers. And to be honest, that's very true, but in the moment you have to kind of deduct what energy you're being given, so that you know if you can even try and reach out to the people, or else there's no point in arguing, because that's not going to turn someone into an ally.
And kind of touch on to what she just said, I think in terms of like making a racist an ally, at the end of the day, so like, that's why I said in the beginning, like we're all here to learn, unlearn, and relearn. If someone is willing to unlearn their biases, unlearn those like mindsets, then fine, yeah, they can be an ally. But at the end of the day, it takes accountability. It takes someone to say, you know what, like to be cognizant of how you're relating with people, the things you're thinking, how you're interacting with other people. So I think personally, my stance is it's possible to turn a racist into an ally, but they're going to have to want to and actually do the work. So.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Evelyn here. I just want to give an example of one way to turn a racist to an ally. I've used that a couple of times. Even though you know that they are racist, at times when you use the word unconscious bias, it seems to be more acceptable to white people as opposed to calling them racist. And when you use unconscious bias, you're trying to tell them that, listen, it's not, you didn't do it on purpose, but it's just natural. You know, that way you will see them tending towards what you want them to do. That's an example. That's the way I usually capture white people to be on my side. But I don't know if that's the best way, but that's the secret. All right. Well done, guys. Take care. Talk to you.
And then I'm seeing a question here. It says, what a racist want to change? I think that's kind of what I meant. Like, that's up to them. That is up to them. So
yeah, definitely. I also seen some quite a few interesting topics in the comments, and I'd actually like to bring it up as a dialogue. Aiden had said sharing information is quite informative. There is racism in Ireland, and it does need to be called out and challenged. All sectors of society have a responsibility to challenge racism and take active anti-racism actions in communities and institutions. Education and social engagement and promoting human rights will be the key to stopping racism and achieving equality, respect, diversity, and dignity with solidarity, which I agree with his comments heavy. And I think he shared a very good point if anybody wants to actually talk about it as well.
Mad silence.
sorry, guys. I'm just trying to keep. Sorry, OJ, do you want to repeat that last part? I missed it.
Oh, sorry. What did you say? Did you hear me?
No, I actually missed that last part. Do you mind repeating it again?
About what Aiden said, or?
Yes, please. Oh, and I also
Oh yeah.
sorry to interrupt you. I also want to highlight that Dr. Aiden Kenny is on the call. He's a member of Department of Education. So if y'all have any questions, like educational related, definitely go ahead and throw those in the chat as well, because he'd be willing to answer some of those questions. Sorry, but go ahead, OJ. Okay.
Sorry, what did you say, Natasha?
Sorry, could you repeat that last question?
The last question.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said the last time. Sorry.
Oh, I was just talking about Aiden. He had mentioned in the comment section actually saying sharing is informative. There's racism in Ireland and it needs to be called out upon and challenged. All sectors of society have a responsibility to challenge racism and take active anti-racist actions in communities and institutions. Education and social engagement and promoting human rights will be the key to stopping racism and achieving equality, respect, and diversity and dignity with solidarity.
And I actually love that. And remember, we kind of said earlier about how we want people in positions of change. So again, this experience isn't just with one sector, it's a multiplicity of sectors. So people going to their individual institutions and going ahead and saying, hey, here's an area where this is affecting this community, how can we tackle that? Because if you're just going and saying, oh my God, hey, these people are affected, and that's about it, that's not doing it.
Yeah, that's
so it's
true.
like actively trying to make that change, actively implementing programs and strategies to overcome that. So
definitely. I also have a question for the people who have spoken recently. I have a question for them. Have you guys ever experienced racism in your educational institutions or centers previously? I think 2 or 3 people have already mentioned it, but I'm actually interested to know if they did experience racism in their schools. Because I'm asking because I attended one of Ireland's a private school in Ireland, and I did encounter racism quite a lot. And obviously, it was a thing where there was quite a lot of microaggressions spun around and stuff said as jokes. And if you try to counteract, it'll be like, "Oh, why are you'll be given the narrative of why are you being so aggressive?"
I had actually, funny enough, because speaking about that, I actually had a question for Aiden as well. Yeah, one of the things that I seen was people that didn't speak English the strongest, they'd assume that you're stupid or you just weren't smart enough to do it. Like even for me, because I didn't do my entrance exam, instead of asking me what level I'd like to be put in, they just put me foundation level everything. And being told by teachers that they don't think that I'd pass higher level. Like my accounting teacher told me that I wouldn't pass higher level accounting, and I have an accounting degree now. So my question is, because I've been seeing a lot of talk about the Leaving Cert being done off of predicted grades. Is that so? Has there been any talk about how that affects the minority students? Because if my predicted grades for accounting, I would, if it was up to my teacher or whoever it's up to give me a grade based on what I predicted to get for someone that didn't even think that I could pass higher level. I did pretty well. I think I got like a B1 or something like that. Has it been spoken about how it would affect minority students of like, if that teacher doesn't like you, you're going to get a worse grade than you might have gotten if you had sat the exam? And that's my question anyways, if Aiden is in the chat.
Okay, so I'm going to get Dr. Aiden in now to answer that question. Can we get him?
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm proud to take part in this event. And thank you to all the speakers and the discussion. It's been really informative. I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn from these types of engagement. And I'd like to wish the Laois African Support Group all the best in their future activities. Yeah, I mean, the education system, and I've said it already in my comment, that there is racism in Ireland, and that has to be recognised. We can't hide it. It needs to be identified, and it needs to be called out, and it needs to be called out in every situation. And all Irish people have a responsibility to call it out in shops, on buses, in schools, in playgrounds, and in the workplace, because I work for a teachers trade union. So we're active in organizing workplaces and teachers. And yes, we have campaigns. We have an equality council. We take positions, anti-racist positions. We work with minority groups such as the Travellers, such as Rohingya Action Ireland,
Right there.
Palestinians, and other groups that are oppressed around the world. But racism in Ireland does need to be challenged, and I think those in areas of responsibility need to step up and need to take this seriously. There's people who have influence, and you've mentioned principals, you've mentioned teachers, there's politicians, there's the business community, there's associations and organizations and sporting organizations, cultural organizations, artists. We all have to take responsibility and call it out. It's not good enough just to be a passive bystander. And I agree with the speakers, absolutely. You can't just say, I'm not a racist. You have to be an anti-racist, and you have to take actions. And there's different types of actions that can be taken. There's different types of actions. So it can be welcoming your neighbors. It can be welcoming your students and talking to your students and treating people with dignity and respect and human rights. In terms of the education system, is there, and the word unconscious bias was used, is there a fear that teachers may mark someone down? That's something that we have brought up and we've discussed as a trade union, because we were in discussions with the Department of Education and Skills and the Minister when this was being discussed. And we said quite clearly that no one should be disadvantaged because they come from an underprivileged background, because of their race, because of their ethnicity, because they haven't got access to broadband, they haven't got access to equipment. So we took a position as a union for teachers and informed the minister. So our members, our teachers, are not perfect, but they're aware that this is a concern, and they're aware of our equality approach and our support for diversity and our anti-racist approach. So I would hope that it wouldn't happen. And if we became aware that it did happen, we'd like to be reported, and then we can address that issue if it does happen. I would like to wish our colleagues in America solidarity. I think they're leading the way. And I remember when the Dunn Stores workers went on strike against apartheid in South Africa. And we supported the ANC at the time and campaigned. And I remember when Nelson Mandela came to Dublin, I was younger at the time, but I met him, and it was one of the proudest days of my life. So look, there is loads of support in Ireland. Don't be afraid to reach out. We're there, we're willing to help, and we're willing to be active against racists. Thank you.
Sorry, Natasha, I have a question for Mr. Aiden. We had a case where one of the kids from direct provision came back and was complaining like there was someone who was being racist towards the child. Like he was about 8 years old, and the teachers kind of like didn't handle the situation well, so they ended up embarrassing the child instead of actually questioning the guys or the kids that were bullying the child and calling him monkey or telling him to, being so mean to the child. As a teacher, what initiative would you advise other teachers to take against such kind of action?
Sorry, can I just jump in there 2 seconds, please? So that's literally what I was gonna ask a question along those guidelines. So the last couple of weeks I've had a couple of teachers actually message me and like basically say that there is no support at the moment for teachers in terms of anti-racism. And they've got like booklets and stuff to teach against like anti-bullying, and they teach about you know, more recently, and I'm not sure if it's in a lot of the schools, but just about like gender identity and stuff like that with kids. But there's literally no support at the moment for primary school teachers in particular to teach against like anti-racism for younger kids at the moment. So if, for example, like there was to be some kind of, you know, reform in that kind of area, how would you go about that? Like, how would that actually, you know, come into effect?
Okay, I mean, they're two very important questions. In terms of teachers, we have what's called the Teaching Council. So the Teaching Council regulates the teaching profession, and it advises on matters to do with teaching, teacher education, and teacher training. And then there's also the Department of Education and Skills, which sets out the policy for the education sector, so for primary, for second level, and for third level. I'd say, and I will repeat, it's absolutely unacceptable for any teacher to engage in any type of racist activities. If a situation is witnessed by a teacher where a student is being racist towards another student, they must intervene straight away. I go back to the term I used earlier on. They're not passive bystanders. They have a responsibility to engage, and a responsibility for the health and safety and well-being of the students in their care. So, I mean, so they should intervene. Now, whether, and you're right, I think you are right in terms of the material that's available during teacher training. Is there sufficient material there related to anti-racist approaches? And I don't think there is. And that's something that has to be developed and has to be used. And that's why I go back to the point that I said, those in areas of authority have a responsibility to make sure that there's new policies put in place, make sure that there's new guidelines put in place, make sure there's new education material put in place for teachers to use in classrooms, for students to use in classrooms. I think we had a very, if I go back and just use one very successful campaign, and that was the same-sex marriage campaign. I mean, that was a campaign that where alliances were built up, strategic alliances were built up across communities, across sectors, and they changed our legislation. Models like that, I think, should be used to change. And I think I go back to one point where the law and legislation and the Constitution, I think, absolutely does have to be changed. And I think there was a retrogressive legislation passed several years ago where it said that a child born in Ireland wasn't Irish. I think that's outrageous. So I think that legislation has to be changed. Anybody who's born in Ireland, if they want to be, they're Irish, from my perspective. But the legislation changed, and I think political parties have an obligation to have that legislation overturned. I'm sorry, I'm moving into the political here, and I know the question was about education. But yes, I do agree, teachers should intervene. There should be more educational resources, particularly at teacher education. When young teachers are in their training, they should have specific modules in relation to how to identify racism and how to intervene straight away and not let it continue. So I think it should be a module within the teacher training program. And there should be specific guidelines in all schools and primary, second level, and third level, and in the workplaces. And I do think the trade union movement has an obligation and a responsibility to act in solidarity. It goes back to our core principles. A hurt to one is a hurt to all. So a hurt to anybody in the community is a hurt to the whole community. And we have to try and do what we can to act against racism. Sorry.
Can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one thing about the legislation being changed. Because I'm born in 2001. I'm not sure who else is born in my year, but when I was born, that law hadn't been changed. So technically I am Irish on paper. But again, another thing that kept happening was after X Factor, people would comment in the comments saying, "You're paper Irish. You're not actually Irish. Why is this Black girl representing Ireland?" And it's because of legislations like this that are being changed. Racism, like racist legislations that are being put forward that are not allowing asylum seekers to come here and have a fair and equal chance. Like my parents came over here as asylum seekers. They were part of the apartheid act and everything. So it was better back then, but now for some reason they've made it worse. And I'm just confused as to why.
Sorry, I just want to come in there. Is it okay to talk, guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add to what Aiden said. And I'm speaking on as an educator myself. But just to call your attention, guys, to this, the crime law, which is the 8th crime bill, it was presented in 2015. The 8th crime hospitality, which was done, but the governments have not accepted it up to this very moment. So as of this moment in Ireland, we don't have any 8th crime bill, and we don't have any racism bills. So like even if you do anything within that frame, there's no way they can defend you in the law, in the court law in any way, or it can be justified. So that one is something that most NGOs are trying to push forward. Hopefully we can get that push forward because of what is happening now. So the momentum of what is going on now, hopefully that could allow that to be pushed forward to whereby that could become part of the bills and laws, and then it can be rolled out into schools. Now, when you talk about schools, like Eddie was saying, the Teaching Council in Ireland regulates all the teaching processes and law. But there's one thing there that is very stagnant that will make it so difficult for us as a migrant and African Caribbean community to actually really have much power, is that the system of elective system within the Teaching Irish Council, you have to be recommended. And if you don't get those recommendations from past principals within schools, then you can't be part of the council. I recently made an attempt to join the Teaching Council so that it can give you a voice, it can give us a voice to be able to say, but the system, you see, there's so much system within the Irish culture that needs to be changed to accommodate people like us coming as a diaspora living in Ireland, Africans and Caribbeans and migrant community. They need to change the whole system's perspective, because the system doesn't give us room to be placed in position of authorities. So that needs to be changed. And when I wanted to put in for it, I needed principles. There's some governance within the school, because the way education is run in Ireland is that it's run through the Irish, through the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church owns nearly 60% of schools in Ireland. Then we have the private school. Then we have the teaching together. I think so. Together with and then we have the VEC that has a very small amount aspect of it.
So the system needs to be changed. And the only way it could change is that when we start having more representative of our own community within that sector, and then we could have a voice to be able to change it. So if that is done, then there will be so much differences. And then thirdly, within the school system, as a teacher, you don't really have any power over the students. And I'm sure most of you here that are students knows that there's so much limitation to what a teacher can do in curbing students' attitude within the school environment, because your powers, your ability to even if a student is fighting with, if you're passing through the corridor of the school and you saw two students fighting, you have to really think before you intervene. You have to think about it, because if you're not careful, if you intervene, you might regret going into that, because there's things around touching a student, holding them. They can turn around and say anything. And teachers are very, very vulnerable, very, very vulnerable. And you won't know that. Student might not know that, but I know that as a teacher. But as a student, you won't know that. But so that is why sometimes teachers are very, very careful in the way they approach issues when you bring it to them, because there's so many things that just limits how they can engage in those kind of things. So that's just what I want to add. All the best. You guys are doing fun. I'm so proud of all you guys. And all the best. Yeah. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We really appreciate. And then just to throw it back to OJ real quick, do we have any more questions or OJ?
Sorry, yeah, actually, well, we don't have a question, but we just kind of have interesting topic in the conversation box. Basola,
one more, just because we are running out of time. So sorry, guys.
Basola mentioned that that we must try to build a community of Black Irish people that are standout citizens in every work of life with the Irish society, and start conversations like this to try and encourage each other, because the younger generation are kept quiet because of the way how our parents have told us to not look like we're looking for trouble, or to just stay out and try just behave and stuff like that when we're in society. Like, so I wanted to point that out because it was actually quite a good argument there.
Okay, awesome, perfect. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you to Basola for that. And then lastly, before we do round up and we have our closing statements, we do have Savannah, and she's just going to come on and perform a song that she wrote. So if I can just...
Hello.
Savannah? Oh, there you go. Hey, Savannah, girl.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna speak about like how I came about the song and everything. So obviously George Floyd's death, like a lot of people think that people are rioting for that reason. It's really not. It's just the last straw that basically, you know, got everybody going. So even his death, leading up to like everything that I've been through in life, like just from day one, being put into a primary school where me and my sister were the only two Black people there. Just everything led up to the moment from George Floyd's death, just led up to the song. Legit just wrote it just there and then. So yeah. I'm gonna sing it now. Can you hear?
I can hear perfectly. Everybody else can? Okay.
Why can't you accept the fact that I was born differently? The shade and color of my skin determine how you treat me. Killing Black people in our society. When we go out, we'll never know it's our last time to breathe. It's a sequel to the past. Our lives matter less. I will be a number because of my race. I'll be put to rest. They don't care cause why? You'll never see eye to eye. Ignorance is bliss. You know when they're killing our kind. Black lives matter. Not as much as yours. Innocent people losing their lives. R.I.P. to George Floyd. R.I.P. to George Floyd. You never know how it feels to be black from the inside. Wanna be free and not fear for our lives. Why can't you accept the fact that I was born differently? The shade and color of my skin determine how you treat me. Killing black people is known in our society, and when we go out, we never know it's our last time to breathe. It's a sequel to the past. Our lives matter less. I will be a number because of my race. I'll be put to rest. They don't care cause why? They'll never see eye to eye. Ignorance is bliss. Now when they're killing our kind, Black lives matter, and not as much as yours. Innocent people losing their lives. R.I.P. to George Floyd. R.I.P. to George Floyd. You will never know how it feels to be black from the inside. Wanna be free and not fear for our lives. Yeah, you will never know how it feels to be black from the inside. Wanna be free and not fear for our lives. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sad. That was really beautiful.
Thank you. I also want to say well done to everybody for speaking. And there was a lot of factual things that were said here, and I just want to say well done to everybody speaking.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for participating. You were amazing. And then I'm just gonna hand it over to Deji.
Scott, thank you for that. Song almost made me drop a tear and all of that. I do see in the chat that someone wanted to say something. So last person, and this is your chance to unmute yourself and say what you want to say. If they're about, going once, going twice. Well, I guess the opportunity's gone. But anyways, guys, I just want to round everything up. I do want to say thank you to everybody that participated today, the speakers, everyone that locked in, people that might have locked in for 10 minutes and left again. I do want to say a very special thank you to Dr. Aiden for actually being involved and having the heart and the chest to actually go up against so many different, what's the word I'm looking for? So many different opinions and questions being asked to him and representing the teachers union. And as a closing statement, how I just want to say that through all of this, something that hasn't been said is that I'm actually very proud to be Black, even apart from the fact of all of the things that we have to face, feeling like our existence is an offense to somebody, making ourselves feel uncomfortable to make other people feel comfortable. And that's what we had to go through. And that's what we have to go through. But it's clear that things are changing and things will continue to change. And it's one of those things that we shouldn't let this be one of those social media trends that come in and then the next week they're gone out because something else is happening on Twitter. This is a constant fight, and it's not just a log into social media, put up a black screen or say Black Lives Matter and hop back out. Like this isn't just a movement, it's a lifestyle at this point. And I just wanted to say thank you to every single person that has locked in. And hopefully we can do something like this again and actually have more conversations like this. But that's it, everyone.
Hey,
that's all, folks.
Sorry, that person who was requesting was my mom, and she's here and she wants to say it real quick.
Go for it.
Sorry.
Don't put the video. Hi guys. So basically what I wanted to say, and it's something that I have learned over the years. Firstly, I'm very proud of what you guys are all doing. Some of us have been in Ireland for almost 20 years, and to see our children rise up and begin to speak up is powerful, and I'm very, very proud. But what I wanted to suggest is you guys need to come together as a collective. Most of you are able to vote. You have ages of voting. The only way we are going to reform and change policies systemically is if you guys form a political party, bring all your votes together. You don't even have to put a candidate forward, but you hold your votes. When the government sees that this African political group has, say, 100,000 votes, they want your votes. They need your votes. When you hold on to those votes and say, right, you want our votes, we want these policies changed. We want hate crime laws put into place. We want people to be able to be prosecuted. We want changes within education or changes within employment. But it is only until we come together collectively, we unite and we say, right, our vote, because you guys don't understand, the vote has so much power and it has so much weight, and they need those votes. So that's all I just wanted to say. Think about it, and well done to everybody. It's been very educational.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful gems being spoken.
Sorry. You got it?
Go ahead, Natasha. No,
Okay, perfect.
I'm good.
Well, that's everything that we have for today's session. I want to thank everybody so much for locking in, everybody who voiced their concerns, thoughts, experiences. Thank you to all the amazing speakers for sharing your stories and being willing enough to be vulnerable in front of everybody. I really do appreciate and respect you all. I do want to say the fight is not over, so everybody, please, please, please keep the momentum up. Keep being active, keep using your voice, and that is everything. So thank you so much, and you all have a wonderful night, and be safe and be blessed. Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph from Kenya, for joining.